Come on, Vic.
Yeah, now it's important more than ever to vote blue, because red has put us out here, stop the postponing of the voting. We have to make sure that voice is heard, regardless of this pandemic. That's the situation we're in.
Why not vote absentee? That's going to be a question I get. Why did you not?
I tried to vote absentee, requested my ballot on the 14th, and never received it.
Wow.
Same with you? You requested ballots on March 14th?
I did.
They said they put my wrong name on here.
Oh, okay, so you got an absentee ballot.
Yeah, but the name is wrong.
I never got mine.
I'm a senior. They put junior down here.
If there's one thing you want people to know who are watching this, what's your message to them?
Vote.
Well, we're strong.
And tell my son to vote.
This. Yeah.
Say that again?
We're strong. We'll get through this. There's hardship, but it's important to make your voice heard. You might feel like one person, but collectively, we're all out here.
All together. We're all
helping each other. It's going to be okay.
Just to put a cap on this, the idea that the Republicans and man, you know, in Wisconsin, just a reminder, this came up with John Nichols yesterday. Democrats won 54% of the vote. 54% of the votes cast were for Democrats in the last election for the state legislature. Mm-hmm. Yet, because of gerrymandering, Republicans still control that 66-34. Yeah. So in a statewide election, you know, come November, if there's actual voting, Republicans may have a problem there, but they're not going to have it in these, Democrats would have to get like 70% of the vote to take over that state legislature. I mean, it's almost an impossibility. It's almost locked in. That's why on Monday, the results of this Supreme Court election in Wisconsin are going to be so huge. Now, the court is not in balance, but it's going to make an issue. But here is the Wisconsin Assembly Speaker, who is sent out to try, I guess, to do damage control about how safe it is to vote and how it's not a big deal that Republicans, remember now, Evers, he was late to pull the trigger, but he basically said, I'm shutting down the, I want, and he doesn't have the same power that you would have if you were Scott Walker. They stripped him of a lot of power, mm-hmm. But he went in, he said, I want to propose legislation that we punt the election. Republicans kept in session for 17 minutes and then they ended it. Didn't happen. Then he ordered the election changed. It was overturned by the courts, by the state Supreme Court. And then the extension on absentee ballots, which would have helped some of those people theoretically in line, was also nixed by the federal Supreme Court. Here is Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos from Racine County out explaining to people why it's perfectly safe. Take a good look at this and see if you see any cues that might suggest that it's not perfectly safe to go out and vote.
What do you have to say for some of the voters who are concerned about being disenfranchised because they requested the ballot as of Friday but still haven't gotten it and they're afraid to leave their houses?
Well, the best thing about it is, number one, you have the ability to request from your clerk an email ballot. You can fill it out and send it back in. That's what the Elections Board decided yesterday, the Wisconsin Elections Commission. So that's one option for folks. The other one is you can come to a polling place and do it safely. You have the ability to do curbside voting just like they're doing here, even if it's in a different municipality without drive-up voting. You can request that the person come out. They'll deliver you a ballot. They'll check your ID. You are incredibly safe to go out. So I think that's why people have to use their own best judgment. They have to make sure that if they're compromised in any way or worry about the safety of their family, that they do it really smartly. But I look at what's happening here today, and it really makes me proud that the people who run our elections are doing it professionally, but they're also doing it in a way that makes people as safe as they possibly can be, just as safe as they would be when they go out of their house to get groceries or anything else that they need to live their daily lives.
This mother effer is in a hazmat suit. And I will tell you this, they don't have drive-up ballots in Milwaukee.
Right.
They have it in the suburbs where they know that their voters are. And this guy is dressed as if he's about to perform, brain surgery. He's got so much protective gear on that's not available to the public. And frankly, it's highly irresponsible that you wasted that gear on that MF as opposed to somebody who needs it, who's actually going in and dealing with patients. But are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this is driving me to vape. I'm sorry to be vaping on the stream, but this guy leaves me no choice.
PSA, they just released some sort of statistics on vaping. Just as a side note, it affects your lungs, and they're seeing that a lot of people who are young that are being hit by this, they're attributing some of it to the vaping. So just PSA, cut down on vaping, guys.
My mom definitely told me that already, and I was like,
perfectly safe. Perfectly safe. Don't worry about a thing. Don't worry about a thing. It's perfectly safe.
I know that it's not good for me.
Sam,
I'm not doing it because I think it's healthy. But
you know what? Have your lungs scarred, Jamie. We need you.
I'm a little stressed out right now. Might not be the best time to quit a thing.
Do what we're all doing. Eat.
But I am trying to cut down and eat more.
That is so disgusting.
Does this guy not realize what he's wearing?
He's wearing a fucking hazmat suit. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't swear for the stream, but that is wait,
we're not allowed to swear?
Terms like banality of evil need to make a comeback as actual terms that mean something.
This is a guy getting on a spaceship as Earth is burning, saying everything's fine. You'll be all right.
And contrast it with the people before who are a hell of a lot better than the leaders of their party, who are out saying we need to do this and they're correct. The Roberts Court, John Roberts, great devotee of the law, not a partisan hack at all, not someone who's dedicated basically the entirety of his career, essentially just to rolling back the Voting Rights Act and other major civil rights legislation. Yeah, no, he's great. And then we have this the guy in a hazmat suit. Whatever. It's grotesque. It's every adjective I could throw at it. But I don't know. I guess it's puncturing through a certain, you just have an absorption level where you expect this stuff. You're not surprised by it. Of course. And then you see something like that, the literal visual of this guy saying, "Hey, no problem." Contrasted with those people. The whole time you're watching those people, you're thinking to myself, oh my God, make sure to not follow your natural impulses while you're chatting with other people. Keep your distance.
Right.
They're risking their lives to vote.
Right.
To vote.
What's that book by Astra Taylor? Sorry. Democracy may not exist, but we'll miss it when it's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely feeling that vibe right now.
All right. I'm sorry. I just want to do this one last video before we go, because I know, Jamie, you've got to jump to your thing, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'm trying to find. I don't know if I have the clip, but I just want to get this. I just want to amplify this clip. We'll talk about it more in the coming days. But there was a video that that Josh Marshall at Talking Points Memo found online. He didn't find it, but it was online. There's a doctor from, I think he's from NYU ICU. Do we have that video, Brendan? Yeah, just play the shorter one, I guess. There is also reporting from Stat News that I have seen, and I'm trying to, I can't quite find that piece of paper, but I want to at least get this out there, because I know that we have people who are doctors, who are working on caring for people, and if we can in any way help this. This is this Stat News. Let me just read this. There are some, this is all anecdotal. These are all just reports from some frontline doctors, but they are suggesting that critical care physicians suspect that blood levels of oxygen, which for decades have driven decisions about breathing support for patients with pneumonia and acute respiratory distress, or I think they call it ARS, acute respiratory syndrome, might be misleading them about how to care for those with COVID-19. In particular, more and more are concerned about the use of intubation and mechanical ventilators. They argue that more patients could receive simpler, non-invasive respiratory support, such as the breathing mask used in sleep apnea, at least to start with, and maybe for the duration of the illness. I'm not going to pretend to even understand this stuff, but there are enough reports, and I trust Josh Marshall's sort of sense of this, that there are some frontline doctors who are saying that what they're treating looks like pneumonia, but does not respond like pneumonia. In pneumonia, your lungs become weak and they don't have the ability to basically go in and out, or they've become filled with fluids, and they don't have the ability to sort of pump air in. This doctor, and apparently some others, enough so that this Stat News, which apparently is a credible news, medical news organization, some of these people are suggesting that the protocols in which they use ventilators, where it forces air in and out and forces the lungs to do the job, should be rejiggered in some way to just simply provide more oxygen, because the oxygen levels are going down. And this guy doesn't seem to have the answers, but he is suggesting that, and I guess within the context of the medical field, this is controversial and iconoclastic in some way. But if there are doctors out there or people who are working with frontline COVID-19 patients who may be experiencing this, I just want to make the opportunity so that they can connect with this stuff. It's just a way of amplifying it. Let's play this video. Who is the name of the doctor, Brendan? And just let's put up also the his YouTube page so that people can go look. He's done a couple of these videos.
Yeah, his name's Dr. Cameron Kyle Seder.
Cameron Kyle Seder. And can you show at least his YouTube handle in the video so that people can go and check out more from him?
I can try. There's all kinds of like COVID information that's blocking it, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
Hi, this is Dr. Cameron Kyle Seder, ER and critical care doctor from New York City. Right now I'm rushing into work. I'm rushing like every hospital in this city is rushing. Our hospital is in an unimaginable condition. We are working extremely hard under extremely stressed conditions. We're stressed not only over concern of our own health, but because we are watching people dying of a disease we do not understand, of a disease we have never seen before. And then we're going home to our families. We live with our kids, our parents, our grandparents. Right now, it is as if the train is slamming down the track at an extremely high velocity under extremely stressed conditions, but we don't know where we're going. We are putting breathing tubes in people and putting them on ventilators and dialing up the pressure to open their lungs. I've talked to doctors all around the country, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the pressure we are providing may be hurting their lungs, that it is highly likely that the high pressures we are using are damaging the lungs of the patients we are putting the breathing tubes in. It's not our fault. We didn't know. This is how we treat ARDS. This is how we've treated it for the last 20 years. 2 days ago, the Italians came out with a letter stating the same thing, that we are running the ventilators in the wrong way. Right now, the news is saying that 100 to 250,000 people in this country may die. That means 100 and 250,000 people may be put on a ventilator that is programmed wrong. We can change those protocols. We need to change those protocols. COVID-positive patients need oxygen. They do not need pressure. They will need ventilators, but they must be programmed differently. The protocols in this country, in every small, big, medium-sized hospital in this country, must change. They can change. The time for us to change them is rapidly diminishing, but we do have time, but that time is now. We have to change the protocols. Please spread the message. Thank you.
All right. And there's a couple of videos like that are on there. Like I say, there's a piece in Stat News as of today. Ventilators are overused for COVID-19 patients, doctors say. There's going to be more reporting on this, I imagine, but I'm just putting it out there. Josh Marshall has, at the very least, done some reporting on this guy, and he is, in fact, who he says he is. So, and I don't know. I can't assess the credibility of this at all. We're putting it out there in the off chance that some doctors, nurses who are working with these patients say, "Hey, wait a second, that comports with my experience too, and maybe they connect, or maybe they start to look at this, and that's why we're doing it. So
I mean, I think Cuomo said today in his press conference,